Good afternoon. This is Todd McPartland with iMarketing Leader, and this is this week's training webinar for April 15th, Tax Day, one of the favorite days of business owners. Today we are going to go over sticky sites for sweet profits and how to get your visitors to stay on your website. Nice little sticky bun up there, one of my favorite treats there. So again, I mentioned already, I'm Todd McPartland, and I'm the author of Automation Domination, a business owner's guide to dominating your market online. Just a couple of housekeeping. There's a question box on there. If you can go ahead and type in your questions as we go, and I'll go ahead and answer those at the end of the presentation. As I'm on a single screen today, so I got to move this box out of the way. Okay, so sticky sites for sweet profits. This is actually the title of chapter 4 in my book. So we're going to go over a little bit of a different spin that's on the book. We're going to go and focus in a little bit deeper on the mobile side, since mobile is huge right now. So let's dive right in. So in this agenda, what we're going to do is we're going to go over in 4 different sections. We're going to talk about, first of all, what is a mobile-friendly website. There's still a lot of confusion out there in the marketplace on mobile sites, mobile friendly, mobile responsive, apps. There's a lot of different words, a lot of buzzwords out there. So we're going to go over what is a mobile friendly website. We're going to go over in the second section, we're going to say, why does your business actually need a mobile friendly website? And we'll spend a little bit of time going over some statistics from different agencies that are showing why you actually need one of these. Third section is we're going to go over the best practices for creating your mobile friendly website and actually making it sticky. What can you do to your site to actually make people stay on your site, whether they're on a mobile device or actually visiting from a desktop? And then the final section, we're going to go over the key takeaways. So Act 1, what is a mobile friendly website? So here's an image on a mobile phone of the same website, viewing it 2 different ways. So on the left hand side you have a mobile website, and on the right hand side you have a standard website. So you can clearly see that the one on the left is more clear and easy to use. You can see the image at the top, you can see their logo, there's a couple buttons right below that. It's really just what you want and not a lot more. So looking at this, you might not know, is that a mobile responsive site or is it a separate mobile site? Even if you're creating a mobile responsive site, you still want to put the most important information at the top. Your phone number, directions, if you are a restaurant, your menu, information that somebody on the go would want to see. So everything has to have a purpose on your site that's at the top, right? The rest of your site is going to be on there, and I'm going to get in this in more detail of what it actually is for a mobile responsive site. But all the other pages are still there, but you just want to make the information that somebody on the go, most likely for your industry, what would they be interested in? If you are an e-commerce site, you might want to put your featured products at the top, right? They might be coming to see a sale. If you have a store, they might need location or directions. They might need your phone number, definitely need your phone number on there, whether you're an e-commerce site or not. People might want to look up and give you a call. And the one on the right hand side, is difficult to read. There's a lot going on. You really can't see what any of these pictures are, and you really is not sure what to do next. And we've all been on these websites where you have to zoom and pinch and move and scroll, and that's where a lot of the problem comes in. So with mobile responsive sites, you want to reach more customers by creating this responsive web design, and we'll go over some stats in there. But let's first start, what is a mobile web design? First, and most importantly, there's only one URL. So whatever your website is, .com, .net, .org, that's the only URL. You might go to other websites where it might put m. whatever their URL name is. That's a completely separate website, and there's a very big distinction in Google's eyes. Anything that is before that first domain, that dot, is considered a subdomain. And a subdomain is treated as a completely separate website to Google. That means they crawl it differently, they index it differently, and they treat it differently. So just like if you did store dot whatever your name is, and that just takes them right to the store. To Google, that's a separate domain. Now if it redirects, that's a different issue. And you might have also seen whatever their URL .mobi, M-O-B-I. That's the subdomain or the prefix of or the suffix of mobile websites. It was kind of popular. People started using it until mobile responsive sites started coming out and becoming more popular. And now people are moving away from it. There's still two camps on which one you should do better, but I'll show you a couple of reasons why you want to go with the responsive web design. It has single content, right? All the content, since it's on one URL, all the content is the same content. No matter if you're looking at it on a tablet, on an iPhone, or on a desktop, the same content is served up. But what it's done is it's served up using some sophisticated code. HTML5 is one of the main drivers of it, and cascading style sheets. So between those two things, it can serve up on different devices. It knows that an iPhone is requesting this web page. Therefore, it can display itself differently to an iPhone. So really, in a nutshell, a mobile responsive website really adapts itself based on the screen resolution of the device that's requesting the content. So during a request, if someone types in your URL, it actually goes out and hits the web server. And on the web server, we'll know, because that request comes in with some information. And it says, hey, I'm an iPhone, or hey, I'm a Galaxy S3, or hey, I'm a tablet, or hey, I'm a desktop, and this is my browser. Based on that information, the returning result, the HTML that's coming back, will know how it's supposed to be displayed. So it's kind of complex on the back end, but very straightforward on the front end. On a smartphone, you want to be able to see it without having to zoom. On a tablet, you might see a little bit more information. On a nice wide screen, maybe on a laptop or a desktop, you might even see more information. But having a responsive website design means that your website responds or adjusts, in real time to the size of your screen. So if you have a truly responsive site, you should be able to take your browser window and start moving it down to the size of a smartphone, and you should see the site starting to respond. If you don't see it responding, that usually means that there's a different version of the mobile of the website that's being served up in its place. So let's continue on here and look at some of the other key features. So really, it's built on a flexible grid with flexible images, and those things readjust themselves and put themselves in a new order depending on what type of screen resolution. So you can see on the right hand side, different screen resolutions. You don't really need to know that information. Just know that a mobile responsive design does actually handle all this itself. So don't be fooled that it's not an app. So here's a little bit of misconception is sometimes apps and mobile websites, what's the big difference? Apps are actually software applications. They must be specifically created for the operating system. So for an Apple operating system, it's coded one way. For an Android operating system, it's coded a completely different way. Those are actually downloaded from the device. You have to go out to Apple's the App Store to go get these applications. Those apps are created, and your visitor doesn't go get them when they go out to your website. You have to actually encourage them to download an app. And an app is really just a quicker way for a lot of companies who create them to get to the information that's actually on their website. So if it's really just you want to serve up that information on the website, then a mobile website is much better. Now, apps are good when you already have a good client following, and your business can benefit from that. Some realtors use apps where they can serve up and then they can instantly communicate with people who are looking for a home. That might be a way. But if you're on a e-commerce site, you wouldn't want to have to update an app and your website every single time you had new products. You just push them out to your website. So mobile websites are optimized for display on mobile devices, And they're actually intended to be accessed across all types of devices, not just mobile devices, but all devices. And there's no need to download anything. You just send them out to a URL, and then they'll go ahead and be able to see your website just based on the URL. Maybe it's from another form of marketing. Maybe it's from pay-per-click, or maybe it's from Facebook, or maybe it's for a bunch of other ways that they get to you. Maybe you're doing some direct mail, and then they just type in your URL, but they might be visiting it from a smartphone. So here are some of the key benefits of a mobile responsive website. First of all, your website looks good everywhere, right? One reason as business owners we want to create a website is for our brand. So if you have a beautiful store and your website doesn't look very good, that's not a very good first impression. Because you'll see, as when we go look up some of the stats, most people are looking up businesses before they go visit them. Well, a lot of people are doing that on the go on mobile devices. So you want a great looking website on all devices, no matter which one it is, so you get that good first impression, that good brand. There's no need to zoom on smaller devices. I know personally, I absolutely hate when I land on a website and it's not mobile responsive. I will actually leave that site and go find one of their competitors. I don't want to sit there and have to zoom in and make it bigger and try to click on a button. I got pretty big fingers. That's just hard to click on that. It's consistent and tailored user experience. That means no matter which device they're using, when they land on your website, again, it's the same content. That's that bottom one there. All pages are available on every device. It's the same content. They know if they look on your website, they can go to the Contact Us page and find your information. Same way they did it on the desktop. And it gives you wider browser support, because if you know anything about web development, there's a lot of differences that you have to do between an Internet Explorer browser window and Chrome, and then if you're on Safari, and then if you're on Safari for the iPhone. But the flexible responsiveness of this website takes into consideration a lot of that. The backend developers have coded all that for you, so you don't need to worry about it. You just need to put your content out on that site. So a great user experience, is the ultimate, guide for this, right? We want the user to have a great experience when they come to your website, so they'll want to do business with you. It saves money. You don't have to maintain two different versions. So as I mentioned before, a .mobi or an m. your domain name are actually two separate websites. So if you were going to make an update to your homepage and you had a multiple versions, you'd have to go do that same update twice. It saves time. There's no need to do SEO for multiple websites. So that saves time and money. Because if you have to pay a company to drive traffic to two separate websites, again, Google and all the other search engines treat those separately, you really need to do traffic generation strategies for both websites. Better SEO, because it's more efficient in crawling and indexing on search engines. Google last year came out and said if you do not have a mobile website or a mobile version of your website, they will start reducing your ranking in mobile searches. And you'll see here soon in some of these stats of how many people are actually doing mobile searches. So you definitely don't want that. And you got better performance. So because you're being indexed for everything, and Google knows that they can serve up your website and people are going to have a great experience, because that's Google's end result, right? They want the search user to have a great experience. And if they see a lot of bounces coming from your website because they search for you, and even if Google shows you up on that first page and your site's not responsive, and you're like me, and your visitors like me, and they're gonna go out to that site and they're gonna click back right away, that's considered a bounce. That's not good for ranking. That means the user did not, whatever they searched for, they did not find it on your site. So to Google, that's a check mark saying not good. So you got a higher chance of getting your pages ranked for search engine. Now there's a ton of other information that goes into rankings and getting up on the first page, but performance and user experience is definitely one of them. So let's move into Act 2. Why do you actually need one? the truth is mobile is growing fast, and about the only thing that's growing faster than mobile is social, right? And mobile is driving a lot of that social change. If you have a mobile device, you can get on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest very, very easily. So it's driving that social. So here is an article from that's in Computer World, and on the bottom of the text here it says, in the last 12 months, that the mobile usage share grew by 7%. Now this is at the end of last year. That represented a 53% annual increase in mobile traffic. So you can see the big headline is there, mobile browser traffic hit 20%. 20% usage. So it's 1 in 5 people are on a mobile browser. Now this is nationwide. On the local space, it's even higher. It's closer to 50% when people are searching locally, because a lot of times people are out and about looking for directions or talking with their friends and coming up with ideas. But worldwide, mobile browser usage hit 20%. I mean, that's remarkable. So here it is. On local, it's on track to actually surpass it, and a lot of people believe, just like this statistic shows, that around that 2015 is when it might actually eclipse desktop searches and desktop usage. So if you don't have a mobile site in 2016 and 2017, and that traffic continues to level off, if not drop, from the desktop, you're missing out on business, right? If people don't come to your site, you're not going to get a lot of business. So really, this education process I'm going through right now is, if you don't have a mobile site and you're going to be doing your new website, you need to make sure that it's a mobile responsive site. If you already have a website, you need to really think about some of these stats here. We're already in 2014, and they're already showing the number of usage in billions of pages, getting really, really close to that number. So we talked about some of the advantages. What are some of the disadvantages of not going with a responsive design? So this was a study that was conducted for Google. So 36% of the people who responded said that a non-mobile friendly site essentially wastes users' time. So I don't know about you, but I don't want a potential customer thinking I'm wasting their time, right? It is hard enough right now to get people's attention, not only because your competitors are trying to get their attention, but so is Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest and Twitter. Those are all trying to get that same attention time. People are only on their devices for a pretty good chunk of the day, but there's only a certain number of minutes that people are going to be on there. So all of these different websites are trying to get your potential customers' attention. 48% of users said not only does it waste their time, but these 48%, it annoys and frustrates them. Again, not really wanting to do that to a potential client, right? That's that whole branding. If your brand is frustrating, annoying, and waste users' time, what is that actually doing to your reputation? %48 of the respondents said that a company's website who didn't load properly on smartphones doesn't care about their business. Almost half of the people believe if your website does not load correctly on smartphones, because again, these people are smartphone users. They're saying you don't care about your business because you've had enough time, right? Responsive design has been around for about 2.5 years. Mobile websites have been around before that. You've had plenty of time as a business owner to get your site mobile friendly. Now, it doesn't have to be mobile responsive. We're talking mobile friendly here. So they're basically, half of them are saying you don't care about your business if you're not doing that. 50%, half of them will use a site less if it's not mobile friendly. So half of the people just basically said, I'm not going to use that site if it's not mobile friendly. The other half said, I'll use it, but they might be in that category of being annoyed and frustrated, but still use it. And 52% of the users are unlikely to engage with a company whose site brought about a bad mobile experience. Again, they're already frustrated, annoyed, and feel like you wasted their time. Why would they want to do business with you? Right? Maybe you're a service company. Maybe you sell products. Well, if you don't care about your website, as 48% of the people don't think you care about your website, then um, why would somebody want to do business with you? And that's what this study is showing you. Now, here's on the positive side. Mobile searchers take action. 9 out of 10 mobile searches lead to action, and over half of those are leading to a purchase. So 9 out of 10 people that are doing mobile searches are leading some sort of action. They might be a phone call, they might be a visit to a store or to a restaurant. But over half of those actually lead to money. And that's, as a business owner, it's money in the bank, right? So if half of those, 4.5 people basically lead to a purchase, the other 4.5 came to your store, came to your site, gave you a phone call, and maybe you didn't, finish off the business, or you're taking it to the next month. But that's a huge number of people. And buyers are actually getting very picky, right? 67% of are more likely to buy from a company who has a mobile-friendly version. People are able to buy online. If you have an e-commerce store, you can make that super simple. People can go purchase your products if they don't have to do a lot of research on your product. Maybe they already know about your product and they're just doing a quick Google search, or they found you through YouTube or through social media, and you bring them to a store online that they can buy right from their mobile device. You can get that, right? You can make that sale. And 61% says if they're more likely to leave, right? I don't want to see, if I don't see what I'm looking for right away, they'll leave. And where are they going? To your competitors, right? This is Google showing this, because again, Google tracks all that, what they call that bounce rate. They know when people go through their site. They know when people are buying from e-commerce stores. They know when people are clicking on links that are phone numbers. They know when people are clicking on links to get directions and go up in the Google Maps. And they also know when people are leaving without visiting anything else. So you want to stand out from the crowd. Now, this was done last year or so, but only 26% of local businesses actually have a mobile-friendly website. So that means you can be ahead of that competition, right? You can be ahead of your competitors. Your competitors don't know about this yet. And we talk about that in a lot of this training, is you got to get ahead of the competition in one way or another. Online, you can jump ahead. A lot of people are slow to react, right? They're busy building their businesses on referrals, not knowing that a lot of people are actually out on the web looking for their business as well. So only 26%, it might be a little bit higher now, 30, 35%, but it's nowhere near tapped out. So be one of the first ones in your local area. Then you can reap some of the benefits. 84% of local businesses that have mobile friendly actually see an increase in new business. Why? Because people aren't bouncing off their site during searches. One, they can buy from your site if you're again selling products on there. They can find directions to your store. They can get your phone number to check your hours. There's lots of reasons why. So there's really no reason not to do it except for financial reasons. But you can see right here, if you're increasing business because people are coming to your site and it's mobile responsive, it's kind of like a no-brainer. It's more of an investment than a cost. So mobile responsive websites are the way to go. And not having one is basically as good as driving a potential customer right to your competition. So you might have gone through and done a bunch of traffic generation strategies, whether you paid for them or done them on your own. You might be doing pay-per-click. You might be doing some social media. You might have a 5-star rating. And when people go to your website, if they can't see it on a smartphone, they're going to bounce off and go to the next one in line, which is going to be your competitor. And here is the number one reason. Back in June 6, 2012, so now it's been a while, Google actually recommended mobile responsive web design over any other one. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'll leave it up there for you guys can read that. But essentially Google said there's many ways to create a mobile experience, a mobile friendly site. And I've already talked about most of those here. Their recommendation right there, bolded and underlined, they recommend a mobile responsive web design. And if you look at what Google has to do, if I said they treated those sites differently, that means Google has to keep up with them differently. That means they have to index them separately. That means they have to know is that duplicate content or not duplicate content, right? Because if two different websites, even on the same domain, but one's a subdomain, you can't have duplicate content on there. You'll get dinged for that. That's more work for Google. So of course they want the same pages being served up. Because now they can feel very confident that no matter what somebody's searching for, what device they're searching for, they can serve up any of your pages on your website, and they know the user is going to get a great experience. So that to me is the number one reason. Google by far controls most of the search, somewhere between 60 and 80%, depending on who you ask, of the search volume. So when they recommend something, you really should follow that. So let's have a recap here. So really having a mobile-friendly website means, first of all, you're going to stand out from the crowd. Remember, 26 to whatever, 30% of the businesses only have a mobile responsive website. A better user experience. You're not going to annoy your potential client or customer. You're not going to frustrate them, and they're going to stay on your site. You're going to have that professional presence. Right? We talked about that branding. What is your brand? What does your website say about your brand? You might spend a lot of time on your desktop version, but if you don't have the mobile version of it, you're hurting your brand. Likewise, if you don't have a good website on your desktop version, you're hurting your brand. People are going to research you before they come and talk with you. More traffic, right? So talked about Google limiting or completely pushing you down in mobile search traffic if you don't have a mobile responsive or a mobile friendly website, which then can increase to more sales, right? The website could be your first entry point into working with a customer or client. Shows your brand, gives them the phone number, gives them ways to contact you, has actionable steps for them to take, which ultimately can lead to more sales. So let's move on to Act 3. How do you actually go about creating a mobile site? So first of all, based on Google's recommendation, you want to use a responsive design. Now, a lot of people already might have a big website. I get this question sometimes. What happens if I have a big website? I have hundreds of pages. It would cost me $10,000 to redo my website. Then maybe in that case, you actually do the mobile site. You just need to know the pros and cons of that, right? Yeah, the $10,000 might seem like a steep investment right now, but what's the long-term effect of maintaining two websites, driving traffic to two websites, and then potentially not having the exact same pages and Google getting irritated with you? Because if you have hundreds of pages that are indexed, Google's going to want to show some of those pages, even on the mobile site. So you got the one version, you make changes in one place, and then it'll automatically adapt to whatever device is being used. And we don't know. Today we have here a picture of a phone, a tablet, and a computer. It wasn't that long ago that nobody knew about that screen size of a tablet, right? iPhones are changing screen size. Androids are starting to change screen sizes. When you start coding for specific screen sizes, when those change, you have to go back to the drawing board again. So a lot of people, you might see those in some apps, right? You got an app and you downloaded it and you put it on your smartphone, looks great. Put it on your iPad and it looks terrible. It's humongous, right? That's because the developer didn't create two different versions of it. Next generation iPhone might be a little bit bigger. Oh man, now that doesn't fit on there. It doesn't look good anymore. Then you got to go back to your web developer and do that. So as you can see, I'm a very big proponent of the responsive website design, especially if you're starting a brand new website. There's no reason whatsoever, if you're doing a brand new website, in my opinion, not to go with responsive design. You want to keep it simple. Even though this is the same information in the responsive design, or if it's a completely separate website. If it's a completely separate website, this right here, you need to keep it simple, right? You just need to say, listen, I know when somebody comes here, they're on a smartphone, they want my phone number, a direction. In this example, this Chicago Prime Steakhouse, they want the menu and the specials and maybe to contact us. That's about all they care about. if that's what you believe in your business. But you got to remember that these devices are small and they're on the move, so you got to make them easy, right? You got to make things clickable. And I'll show you an example here of how to do that. And then make the most common request front and center. So I already kind of talked about that with the phone number, at the top. Directions if you're an actual physical location, and then a couple other pieces of information. Here's one. Got to design it for fatter fingers, right? I already kind of mentioned that with a small screen, it's hard for people with bigger fingers to click on those buttons. So you got to make them bigger. So that's usually a single column, bigger buttons, maybe plenty of space in between. Drop down menus instead of fillable forms. You got to really understand what someone's going to do. And most of the responsive web design templates already kind of have this built in mind. So if you're using a WordPress backend, which we do at our company for a lot of these reasons that I already spoke about here, because there's a lot of developers out there developing themes for WordPress that are already mobile responsive. So a lot of that big price that you might have to pay is already taken into consideration. Then it's just the price of modifying that template to what you want to use it for. Number 4, measure and test. If you've heard me talk before, I talk about testing a lot and measuring. This is no different. You want to determine what device your users are using. Google will give us all this information. If you look in your analytics, it will tell you how many people came from a mobile device, what those mobile devices were. So this on the right-hand side, an example here, 55% iPhone, 38% iPad. Then you can start understanding who your user market is too. There's certain demographics of people and certain psychographics of people you can gather from their devices. Android people versus iPhone people. If that's important to your business when you're developing your customer avatar, you need to know that. And then you can design and make it the experience optimal for those types of devices. If you see a lot of tablets coming through, maybe you want to shift around some information when you look at your device on a tablet. You might say, well, that's really, not really what I would like to see on a tablet. And then you can make some adjustments. And then you want to test on the most common devices frequently. That's not such a big problem anymore if you're using a nice, if you're using a WordPress theme or another theme that's been created from the ground up to be mobile responsive. That's not as needed because they've already built into that. They've already done a lot of that testing. And number 5, remember your bribe. So part of this, sticky sites for sweet profits is, from the mobile side, you want your site to be sticky. You want it to be mobile friendly so they'll stay. But you don't want to forget that you also still need to capture their attention, right? So on the mobile side, the fact that your site is mobile responsive is a huge plus, right? It's going to be the first thing that they notice. That's going to maybe get them to stick and at least take a peek at what you have. But if you go back to my training on the bribe and the ladder, which if you haven't watched that, I would highly suggest you go back to that. You need to determine what offer you're going to give in exchange for the visitor's information. Right? You got that 3 seconds to capture their attention. Get that headline out there. Even though they're on a mobile device, you still need to capture their attention. You can still have the phone number and everything on there, but as soon as they go past that phone number and they start scrolling, your headline and your opt-in need to be right there. You need to capture their attention, like I just mentioned, with that headline. So if they don't want the phone number, maybe they're actually just want to be browsing on your site. And if your site's mobile responsive or mobile friendly, they can go through your whole site, right? I do it all the time on my phone. If I'm sitting in the airport or in the car, not driving, of course, need to surf the web, look up some information. If it's a mobile friendly site, I can go through that site just like if I was sitting at my desk. And this last bullet point is you're competing with more than just your competition. And I mentioned that before. There's so many people, so much advertisement, so many other sites trying to get your visitors and potential customers' attention that it's not just your competition you need to worry about. You need to have something that really speaks to your target audience to make them want to stay. Because there are a lot of other people that aren't even trying to sell them anything because they have ads maybe running on their site, but they want those people spending time on their site. So you got to make sure you capture their attention, and then the rest of your site, after you've captured their attention, should encourage them to take that next action. Give you a phone call, fill out a form, come to your location. That's what the purpose of the rest of your website is. So here's an example of a responsive design, one that we did here. So you got a couple arrows here, one pointing to the phone number. Right above that, you see the full menu system across the top. Highly engaging image. This is for a pest control company, so someone might see this and say, wow, what's a dog doing on a pest control company? They might take a look, different coloring, different size words. And then the second arrow down here on the bottom is, pointing to the opt-in for this particular company. So after they get their attention, they're basically saying, hey, we'll beat any competitor's price by 20%, special offer, blah, blah, blah. Fill out this information. Now that's what it would look like on a web or on a laptop or desktop, and even maybe on a tablet, full-size tablet. That's what it would look like. And as soon as you go to a smartphone, this same website changes. You can see the screen shrinks down. The menu system now changed to a drop-down menu, which you're probably very familiar with on websites now. Some of them have a menu system and a little bit different, more like a grate looking thing. There's usually three icons over here on the Android where you can click it and a menu drop-down will come on. Apple recently changed, so sometimes it shows up on the bottom now. And you kind of select through that. But you can see that the phone number now is bigger, right? So this company's saying, hey, people who come on a mobile device, they probably want to call me. And this number is actually clickable on this site. So if you're on a smartphone and you click that, it'll say, hey, do you want to call this phone number? And by clicking yes, it'll dial them right away. There's no need for them to scroll through, write it down on a piece of paper. So it needs to be clickable. You still got the picture of the dog, and now you got the will beat competitors price by 20%. Right underneath that, right? So if they don't want to call for whatever reason, if they're doing a little research, they can scroll through this site and go through any of the pages. And Google's happy because every one of the pages they know they can serve up, and everything is going to look the exact same, going to have a great user experience. So let's go through some of the key takeaways. It's really time to go mobile. It's actually past time to go mobile, but there's still plenty of time. Your visitors are expecting mobile. We saw that from some of the statistics. When you got in the 45s, the 50s, the 52% of the people, and not only expecting it, thinking you don't care about your business, they expect it, right? A couple years ago, you wouldn't have saw those high percentages. 50% of the people saying you don't care about your business if you don't have a mobile site. 2 or 3 years ago, that might have been 25%. But now users, your visitors, and your potential customers 100% expect you to have a mobile. You can stand out as a leader in your space. We saw that majority of your competition probably doesn't have a mobile-friendly site. And then, most importantly, you make it easy for your visitors to take action, right? And the action that they're going to take is depending on your business. They're going to call you. Are they going to come visit your store, ask for directions? Are they going to buy something online if you're an e-commerce store or sign up for a service? But that's where, the rubber hits the road, so to speak. I mean, if you can get your visitor to stick on your site, go through your site, and take action, then it's up to you as the business owner or your sales team to convert that visitor into a customer. And last but not least, you want to keep it simple, right? Don't overcomplicate that first home screen, because that's the one that everybody's going to land on. Like 90% of the time, they're going to land on your home screen. Don't overcomplicate that home screen. Even though most people land there, that's not really where they want to be, right? They probably want to be on your services page, or if you're in e-commerce, they want to be in your store, or maybe they want to be on the contact form. Google's going to eventually find those other sites for your other pages on your site, but initially they're going to send everybody to your home page. So, we're here to help at iMarketing Leader. We do mobile website redesigns for companies. We've had a great kind of results from just changing websites that were not mobile responsive to mobile responsive, increasing the traffic, increasing the engagement, meaning people are taking action, they're calling, and they might be visiting their store or filling out a web form or buying stuff online. So we're here to help. You can get in touch with us. Our phone number is right there. You can always visit our website at imarketingleader.com. So I'm going to go look and see if there's any questions in the question box. So if you have any questions right now and you haven't typed them in, now is the time to type them in. We got about 10 or 15 minutes, and we can always end earlier and get back to the day if we don't have any questions. Let me look to see what we have. So here's a question here. What's the difference between a mobile site and versus a mobile responsive site? So I explained this a little bit throughout. I want to make very clear that a mobile site is a completely separate site in the eyes of everybody, right? Most importantly, in the eyes of the search engine. You have to maintain two sites if you do a mobile site. A mobile site is still useful, and there's a lot of companies out there that do strictly mobile sites. Those are usually for the much larger companies that have hundreds or thousands of website or pages, and they know that somebody just wants to have this other information. They're not going to, or worried about, or not going to rank very well in a mobile search, and maybe they're okay with that. The mobile responsive site is the one that's going to adapt to the screen size, and that's the one that you want to do if you're restarting and building a brand new website. Just tell whoever you're going through, whether you go through us, that's the only kind we build, but if you're going through anybody else, tell them you want a mobile responsive website. If they don't know what that is, move on to the next person. If they don't do it, move on to the next company. There's no reason not to do that. So question here, and it's a very good question, is it possible to take an existing site and make it mobile responsive? Yes, it is, but 9 times out of 10 or even 10 times out of 10, it's more expensive. And the reason for that is if it wasn't built from the ground up being mobile responsive, that means you have to go into every single part of a website. And if you know even a little bit about HTML programming, there's a ton of information that goes to display that nice pretty page on your screen. And you have to go into every single one of those and say, hey, if it's this size, adjust. If it's this size, adjust. And that's all done through style sheets and through development. So it is possible to do that. Most people would never do it. They would just say, hey, let's go ahead and build a new one. But it's a good question. I mean, it's worth asking if you have a big site. I can tell you right now, if you came to me and asked me, I'd give you a price for it, and you wouldn't like that price. And you'd say, oh, okay, well, let's just go with the other one. Another question here, can I just get an app instead of a mobile site? You can, except for apps and mobile sites actually, really serve two different purposes. A mobile site is for people that don't know you. There are very few people that are going to go download an app without first ever hearing about it, right? When's the last time that you or have heard of anybody just going out to the app store and just doing a search? Hey, I'm looking for an app that will, tell time, right? Or, give me the weather, right? You do that, but after you've already have a need for it. And most likely you're going to pick somebody that you already know, right? But the app is more for engagement and for very, very specific usage, right? So you might have, let's see, what would be a good example? Like the realtor example. So you might have a mobile responsive site as a realtor, and you might have a ton of information out there. You might be blogging all the time because you're trying to, distinguish yourself as the expert. So you're out there doing all this information. You have all your properties out there, but now you have some clients that repeatedly buy from you, right? And they're always looking for great deals. Well, you might have an app that they can go ahead and download. Now they know you, they're going to download it. That means they'll look at it, they'll, accept hey, you can give me push notifications. And that way you can communicate directly right from within the app, push over properties to that potential client. And there's a lot of interaction you can do with the app. But majority of it is going to be, people who already know you, or a very specific task, like, what's the weather? Type tasks. Let me see if there's any more questions right now. All right, I don't see any more coming in, so I just want to take this time right now to, well, just waiting to see if there's any more questions to make sure that you really fully understand the importance of the mobile site. And I think I've kind of expressed that a lot here, but you really, if you're going to redo a website, just don't waste your money on that, right? Don't waste your money on a non-mobile responsive website. All right, I do not see any more questions coming in. So I thank everybody for being on here. It's great when there's interaction. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, send out the link, the registration link to all your friends and colleagues who might enjoy this information. If nothing else, they'll at least get the replays and then go watch them at their leisure. Next week, April 22nd, we're going to go over the next chapter in my book, and it's all about content. Content is king. The importance of content and content marketing, more important now than it even was 6 to 9 months ago. So until then, make sure you're on that one, or at least watch it. It's kind of eye-opening on why you need content over even maybe some other traditional traffic generation strategies. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, my name is Todd McPartland with iMarketing Leader, and I really appreciate it. Thanks.